Hello everybody and welcome back. I am KRX, and we're going to be taking a look at Rise of Industry 2130. Okay, so that is the total conversion DLC or expansion for the game. Basically looking at the same old kind of Rise of Industry gameplay loops, but with all new buildings, all new technologies, transportation systems, and so on and so forth, set in a dystopian future where the industry that we created in the 1940s and the 1930s have basically destroyed the planet, and so on and so forth. And now we have new future technologies that maybe will start to reclaim the Earth, and have to continue. Society had to evolve around the new world that is full of pollution and so forth. And so those are now we're making companies based on the dystopian future, right? Let's make a new game here. Let's go into career. I think we're going to set most everything to defaults. Everything in the terrain area I think is mostly set to defaults, although I think I've reduced the smoothing a little bit, so it's a little bit rougher than normal. I do find that actually 2130 is very smooth, so reducing the smoothness I think is actually kind of nice. Otherwise the world seems kind of flattish, although it's still probably going to seem flat even though we're trying to get rid of some of the smoothing, not making it more smooth, right? But there you go. Or I guess terrain flatness also ties into it too, and so on and so forth. But we'll keep that on normal. So those are settings. These are all settings that should seem pretty familiar if you've played Rise of Industry before. If you haven't, this is going to be a guide on how to create a successful company. The principles and everything that we're doing in this version of the game, the process that we're using to create a successful profiting company, is the same as if we were playing the default game or 2130. So feel free to use this as a guide to get going in just terms of thinking through the process of looking for economic opportunities and stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about the structure of the game and how you play the game and everything, of course, once we get in here really quick. But I did want to specifically mention this simplified production chains thing. You can see we're actually at 200% base difficulty. Of course, like by default, this would be 100%. Some of these things would be turned off. Like the simplified production chains would be yes, it would be defaulted to yes. When the game first came out, this setting did not exist, so the default was no. But now that this setting is now there based on community feedback, that's awesome that this setting is there. It rounds all the production times to 15 days. If you haven't played the game before, I wouldn't worry too much about what that might mean. You'll see in the game. But I think that this is completely out of the spirit of the game to have this. You want this off. Essentially, if you like the concept of the game, the principle of setting up those production chains, balancing out the different buildings with each other, feeling good about how it all connects and everything, and how the efficiency of the systems that you build and stuff, that's the whole point of this logistical factory building business tycoon game, right? Is making creating an economic engine that's humming and that's working together without much waste or inefficiency and stuff. And keeping this off basically has it to the old default setting when the game first came out, and I think it maintains the spirit of the game. So I would never play with this set to yes, only set to no. So non-simplified production chains is how we're playing. Just wanted to make that point really quick. Not patting myself on the back because of that or anything like that, and you could turn it off if you want, but I personally really enjoy sort of trying to find the ratios between the buildings and stuff based on the time and the production, when they produce and stuff like that. Here we are looking at the world, and if we zoom out, this is the world. You can see it is completely fogged over with smog and pollution. The cities, though, actually have they're built around air purifiers, so that's why the cities have actually congregated around air purifiers. And that's how they're able to, I guess, partly survive, although it seems like a pretty bleak existence even for them. There's no trees or anything. In fact, there are forests of abandoned villages and stuff where we can go and gather materials from scavenging these different towns and things. Why did these towns get built here and these towns were abandoned? I guess it was the air purifiers, right? They were built around the air purifiers, wherever those were. It's almost like a Frostpunk kind of a vibe going on here in terms of the story. But you can see that the world is broken. There's different cities. Every city belongs to one region. So there's only one city per region. This is a region, so on and so forth. This is a region here. This is a region. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to actually put down our headquarters. And we'll put down a headquarters here, and we have the option to eventually get into other regions eventually. Although we will be competing with the AI in order to do that. There'll be about 2 AI opponents, I believe, and they're going to pick regions of their own. Now, if they pick a region that we really want, eventually we can buy them out and take their region from them and take their company from them. But that's going to be much further down the road. Although that's kind of like, I guess in a way, that's kind of like winning the game, is when you just dominate the entire map and you start producing like the advanced technologies and stuff. So how do we decide where to put our headquarters down and figure out where we want to start a region? Now, I probably don't want to start a region down here because it's kind of a wimpy little section. It's just kind of a small region. Although it might have valuable things down here, we don't know. It's a small city inside a small region. We might not want that. So we might want a place that has a good amount of buildable area, right? A good amount of area to build industry and to build business. So, commencement and imagination here look pretty good for that, and so on and so forth. Rust actually looks pretty decent, although Rust is a little hilly and stuff actually in this area. But what we could do is we can go over to these map labels and we can go to resource names. And this is going to be one of the things we want to do right away and see where the resources are. Holy cow, Victory down here. It's a small area, but it has gold. It has a lot of gold. And just because we're in Victory doesn't mean we can't sell to Motif. We can still sell to here. We can sell to Rust. We can sell to all these places, but we can only build our own factories in our own region. Titanium, thorium, gold, 2 different gold deposits. Holy cow. Although there's a bunch of stuff over here in Rust. Gold, titanium, thorium, gold, titanium, thorium, so on and so forth, right? So some of these larger areas actually are just barren. I mean, thorium's the only thing here. Of course, now these cities provide resources as well, right? We can basically get metals from these cities, but that city's kind of far away from the actual cities. Interesting. So we might want to go down into a rich, resource-rich area. This would give us a lot of flexibility to build whatever we want. Although this would not allow us to get metals, right? Metals are over here or up here, split by, regions are splitting these different metal deposits, the old cities. But we could still at least get access to thorium, titanium, gold, and so on and so forth. What we might want to do, though, is we might want to actually look at the cities now. So we know where the resources are, and that can make our decision to where to place down our headquarters, sure. But we might actually want to go up to here, and we can actually see the kinds of towns that are in the kinds of businesses that are in these different towns. Ooh, Rust actually has a assorted goods area that's actually wanting to buy golden wire. I find that this is a very easy one to get started with. So we have gold here, we can make golden wire, and we can sell it to Rust. Ooh, that's tempting right there. That's tempting. We can look at some of these other ones. We can look at this city. Gold, they want to buy golden wire as well. Well, if we're making gold here, we might be able to make enough gold wire for both cities, supply both cities there. Nutrient plant. They actually have 3. So Motif is so large that they have 3 different businesses, including a higher level business, the parts shop. Some of these things are a little bit more advanced. Nutrient center is a little bit tricky. But you can basically, when you build different sort of future farms and bio beds and things, you can build some of these nutrients and stuff and sell those things for a decent amount of income. So we could look through and see these different sort of shops that are offered in these different areas and get a sense. See, like so they want assorted goods, and assorted goods or their assorted goods specifically want steel in this town, and we know that there's steel here. So honestly, that's a decent, like we can just produce steel here and then run it back to the city. There is gold, but it's the only other resource available. So it's not much there. Imagination is the other really big city over here. Very little resources, very far away from the actual city itself. But they do have a fabrication shop, which is unique, right? So it's the only fabrication shop in the entire area, I think. Because most of these are like assorted goods and nutrient centers, yeah, or part shops, yeah. So this is like a higher level area that requires a higher level of processing. But I think honestly, from what we've seen, it seems like Rust is going to be a really good area. Lots of resources here, lots of building space. Rust we know is going to buy the gold wire, and I think that's one of the things that we want to start with. So let's actually throw down our headquarters somewhere in the Rust region. I'm just going to throw it down. Booyah. That headquarters does not matter anymore, except we need to go back there and click on it to sometimes like deal with, like we can go here to get loans and stuff. Although there's probably other places to get loans. Of course, we've already taken out a 10 million credit loan. So we could pay this off, but then, you know, presumably we'd have no money to do anything. So we don't want to pay that off yet. But we are paying an interest on that loan. So the other thing we need to do before we get started is we need to actually pick initial technologies. If we go up to the technology tech tree up here, we can click on that, and we can see that you have 3 free unlocks available only for the first and second row. So I can't go boom. Actually, why can't I do this? This is second row. Oh, I guess I could. I guess I could unlock this, but I couldn't go boom, 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 because this is third row and this is fourth row. So I could click on this to start this. I'd get a free technology. Now, we said we wanted gold wires. We thought that that would be, how easy or hard would it be to start? Robotics, actually, that's part of the robotics. You can see, if you're familiar with Rise of Industry, the default game, you can see that these are a number of see, why is this like, it's in the prototype, so why is that mostly blank? See, I'm not sure if this actually blossoms as you go through the game or something, I'm not sure. But a lot of these things down here in the auxiliary are very similar to the core, and then things in these areas are like sort of new things based on the new resources and stuff. But all of these are different recipes and different ratios. If you've played the game before, you're familiar with the concept of recipes. However, you know, this is still a Rise of Industry. It's still a Rise of Industry. This was actually the game the developers wanted. Fun fact, this was the game the developers wanted to make, but they ended up making Rise of Industry because they thought it would be more successful and they'd be able to sort of use that money to make this DLC. So this DLC is really just a labor of love, and it's something that they wanted to do with the game all along. But we definitely want gold wires, so we can get that for free. I think ideally, if we can get the level 2 industries here, or level 2 level, if we can go level 2 on some of our choices here, that'd be quite nice. So I usually like to get the one-way roads. That's kind of just, I mean, you can kind of do whatever you want, but in this case, it's free. Usually be 400,000 credits to research something in the second row. So I'd like to spend our free upgrades on second row techs, basically, because they're free. Rather than these ones are only 200,000 credits, so that's not too bad. Although I'm realizing that the sound, the audio in the game is a little bit loud. We might have to adjust that. You guys keep me posted on that, guys. But it seems like it's making a little bit of noise here, so I might have to turn that down a second. What else can we do? We have thorium. Well, we know we have thorium and titanium. Thorium rods. It only requires thorium. What do we have here in Rust? We can click on Rust. We can see these are the 2 areas. Do you want thorium rods? Titanium struts. So we could look for those. They'll just buy thorium raw. These are steel casings, but that probably requires steel. Some of these are like the different parts, so a lot of this stuff again, it's like I haven't played the 2130 as much. So I'm not actually like instantly just like super like know all this stuff right off the bat. But it looks like some of this stuff is like sand and polymers. Polymers from a polymer gatherer. Actually, you might get polymers from the water. I'm not sure exactly where, or on the coastlines or something. I'm not sure exactly where we get polymers from, to be completely honest with you. So that's something, let's, instead of working on that, let's see, those are steel struts. Where are the titanium struts? Titanium struts are right here. It just uses titanium. I think that'll work. That'll work. Okay. Let's get into this here. Now that we've gotten our free technologies, we can actually queue up a non-free technology that we could work on. I mean, maybe we do work towards some of these other things, since quartz solution. Or actually what we could do is we could actually go down to the logistics down here and see if there's anything here that we really want. Additional +10 gather storage. This will increase our output. This increases our output of our gatherers, which is quite good. Yeah, I think we might do one of these, just boom, boom there. And then we'll kind of see what we need. Let's just set up a basic system right now for what we have currently. So let's go down. We've purchased the rights to... We already have the rights to gather up the core materials. Not the rights, but the blueprints to make the factory for the core basic stuff. So in this case, it's gold, right? It's gold's going to be the very first doodad here that we do. Just make sure the gold is in the radius of the thing, and then essentially we can just throw these down. Say, hey, we're producing gold. Now, if we increase that, if we upgrade the amount of gathers this building can have, then of course space to pause and unpause the game. But here we're at 100%. And we have 3 gathers. That's as much as we can have. So otherwise we could do 2 more with that upgrade and be using all 5 of the gold nodes here. So we produce at 100%, which we can't actually adjust this yet without the different technologies to be able to adjust efficiencies. And sometimes you need to be able to do this because you might actually want to be producing, if we were at 125%, we'd be producing more gold with the same amount of, right? We'd just be working around the clock more, running it hotter, overclocking it, or however you want to think about that, right? So we have 3 harvesters, and harvesting time, basically each of these every 15 days will get 1 gold. So this is going to produce 6 gold every month. That's another way to look at that. Or actually, does it say that a harvester produces? Does it say that a harvester produces 2 gold per? We might have to let this run for a month to know for sure. We might have to let that run for a month. That's fine. There's an easy way to check on that. But what we want to do is we want to make a robotics factory. And we know that these golden wires that we're going to be making, these are going to be getting delivered to the 2 adjacent cities. So let's get these down. Now we could do this a couple ways. We could put it nearby or not, because the reality is if we put down a warehouse that's naturally going to be doing that distribution, then it doesn't really matter where this goes, because the gold is going to go to the warehouse, and then it's going to go to these buildings. Although what we could do is we could just save the trip between the warehouse, so we could actually just have these deliver directly to here, and then these can go to a warehouse, and the warehouse can actually be focused on distributing them elsewhere. So yeah, let's just actually plan on doing a direct link here for now. Very simple, very primitive. So let's actually see, what is the recipe for golden wires? Well, 2 gold creates 1 golden wire. Actually, it creates 2 golden wires every 20 days. So it's 1 gold per golden wire, but it does it in batches of 2 gold every 20 days. So if we extrapolate this out, 20 days we get 2. That's it, or we get 3. We get 3 per month, right? So 3 per 30 days, because we're getting 1 per 10 days. So if we, do the math on that, we know that we get 3 gold every 30 days gives us 3 golden wire, and we just have to do it in batches, basically, right? It just gets pushed out. So we need 2 of these because we're making 6 gold. Making 6 gold, therefore we need 2 of these to process 6 gold per 30 days to make 6 gold wire per 30 days. Now what we need to do is, this is a game about demand and supply and demand, right? How much does this actually want to buy? It turns out they actually want to buy 6 gold wire per month, or 3 per 15 days, right? Or which you can multiply that by 2 and get the we gotta close out of that. The monthly bit there. Holy cow! Did I? Oh, wait a second. Did I forget to buy that? We have one-way roads, but we forgot to get these roads. Rip. I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to do that back again. We're going to do that first. It's fine. I mean, dirt roads are going to be totally fine for us here. Oh, I forgot that. Whoops, I built that gold thing backwards. I built one of these the wrong way, that's for sure. So let's actually get a warehouse, though. Because essentially what these are, logistics, the warehouse. I actually want to put this close enough. So it goes in and then it goes out. I want to cover the 2 factories, but I'd also like to be able to cover the actual... Where's the actual the parts shop? Oh, it's over... well, that's the parts shop. Sort of goods. It's on the other side of town. That's fine. We could just set up our own thing. But if it was within the range, it would automatically detect what we were trying to do. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Now let's surround this. Whoops. Seriously? Wait, do we want to go clockwise or counterclockwise on this? Counterclockwise, I think, right? I kind of messed this up a little bit, to be honest. Pathing alert. It's detecting that it's not able to. So clearly, like, I didn't mean to place it right next to that little corner right there. So this is a little bit goofy here. But what we could do is we can essentially connect there, and then we can go and connect here. And just make sure this is clearly marked as one way. The reality of the fact is I'm pretty sure... No, yeah, that's going to make sense. So the trucks here, it shouldn't have an issue here with the logistics. I think it just needs to update there. This, I do need to make sure that the destinations for this is here and here. So basically we're going to destinations. We're just choose a destination. We're just selecting the robotics factory. These should automatically be trying to go to warehouse 1. Good. Good. Warehouse. If this had said it was going to the warehouse, we don't really want it to go to the warehouse. We want it to go to these specifically. Now what we can do here though is we can say maximum sent is 6. And basically I just want to make sure they don't send all the gold to just one factory, right? In fact, what we could do is we could actually say, let's say 6 though, right? Double its sort of double or triple its actual thing. So over time as it builds up, even if it builds up here, it'll eventually start to build up here, and it'll balance out as we produce enough there. But to be honest, quite honestly, we have a system that's probably going to make us some money. What we can do is we can also be gathering up this titanium. In fact, don't we have a recipe for titanium struts? This is 1 titanium per 25 days. Now, is that something, wait a second, is that something that these guys are buying? They are buying titanium struts. They are buying titanium struts. Let's get some titanium going. I think first episode here is going to be a little bit longer because there's a little bit of an introduction there and such. Ruin scavengers, silica collector, polymer gatherer. Gathers uses coastal harvesters to collect polymers from polluted waters. Oh. Are these the polluted water? Is this polluted water? I'm not sure actually. But actually it looks like the coastal water, specifically those are placed on the coast. It's and you get that you get those from there. Okay. But what we need is we need the titanium. So now we need a couple. Actually, we need to see exactly what the timing ratio is. Again, we're going to be making about 6 per day, I think, or 6 per month. I'm sorry. But what we need to see is with the robotics factory. What was the recipe for the titanium struts? It's every 20. It's interesting. It's 1 titanium every 25 days makes 2 struts. How much were you guys going to buy per month? 3. See, if we overflood the market, it can actually drive down the price. Right now, there's 130%. There's a bonus. The amount that they'll pay for titanium struts is at a premium because the demand is not being met at all. But if we overflood this 3 per 15 days, if we overflood that, then we'll be in trouble. In fact, we actually haven't shown how to set up make sure that we actually deliver the appropriate amount, and we don't do that to prevent that overflowing. We can hit Q or R or Q or E to flip the camera around a little bit there. But same idea here as we had with, I do want to put these inside the radius of the warehouse so we can just really double down on that. There's actually a really cool eyedropper thing where we can just duplicate this. Whoops. Sorry guys. Being a little bit of a doofus there. Clear. So this comes in. It's saying it has a pathing alert, right? Or a pathing issue. with actually making it towards... Okay, there we go. So these guys can now get to there, so on and so forth. These guys need to be set to the titanium struts. Now the thing is the actual 2 is 2 the number in this case? And the answer to that is no, right? Because per 25 days, we'll use 1 titanium at each of these locations. And then we make 2 struts. So it's almost like you can almost think of it as like a monthly thing. We can kind of round that up to 30. Although if we take that out far enough, we could do the exact math on that. Find the common denominator and stuff. I'm going to copy that. Put that down. We need, so we can do 3. That'll be 6 titanium per month that we could send to Rust. Although we're not going to be using all of our titanium. So there's other processes that we could look into, that we could research, that would use extra titanium, since we're going to be producing extra titanium. Or we could look to other towns to potentially send it to other towns. They want steel struts in this town over here. But what about the next town this way? What about District 4? They want titanium struts. So this is something that we could do. That is something that we could do. So here we go. So these guys are automatically delivering to here. This, we need to make sure that you're set up into these different... Choose a destination. Now, I believe by default, there's actually a limit to how many manual destinations these buildings... It's only 3, right? But there are technologies that allow us to go beyond that. To go beyond this number. So that's to actually have this actually supply more robotics factories and to be making more titanium struts to cover more demand across the map as a whole, we would actually need another technology to increase the amount of connections that the titanium mine can have. Otherwise, we need a warehouse to do that distribution. So in this case, though, we have a couple things coming in. These are tier 1 products. We got gold. Gold's coming in. We're going to set that right to there. And then we also have titanium struts. We're going to send it right to there. But most importantly, the maximum that we're allowing to send, like per 15 days, okay, per 15 days is 3. So only send 3 at a time. We do not want to flood the market. And if we see an accumulation of either of these items here, we know that we have access to send to other markets. But at this point, we can actually unpause the game. And a very simple system here, right? We're not further processing these titanium struts, although if we look at the technology tree, right, we can see how gold wire actually looks like it might dead end. It might combine with something else later. But the titanium struts, we can see, I think the gold wire might actually work in like some more of something further down the line. But the titanium struts move into something much further down the road, like the heavy lifting cyberleg. And this requires all kinds of crazy components, right? Like the cyberlimb mechanism and the different nodes and you know, the struts and so on and so forth, right? So there's different sorts of robotics that we can eventually make there and so on and so forth. So some of these goods will eventually need to be further processed into much more complicated systems. But for right now, what we have going right here, speed 3 we're at, losing a little bit of money, it says. Like, because we're paying we're a business, we're paying an upkeep for these buildings. We have to pay for our AI employees, I guess, or something. But there's an overhead cost, right? We're paying for power and stuff to run the companies, but presumably as these start churning, as these buildings start churning here, we should see this should be sufficient enough to make a profit, sort of as we go. We have plenty of money now. Oh, it's say it's missing a input because it didn't get any delivered from the gold mine, but we're fine. We're fine. Minus 200,000. Last month's balance. Well, I think that was taken into account some purchases or something. No, I don't think it was. So here we go. We are now delivering. We have delivered our first gold wire to the shop. Each one of those is, look at this, 60,000, 90,000, 150,000. Holy cow, are we making a profit this month? Are we making a profit this month? Guys, thanks everybody for being here. We're going to continue on with this playthrough in the next episode and continue to show how, you know, just to talk about the game and discuss the game, look at the different technologies, set up more complicated production chains, look and see what the AI is getting up to as well, right? Some other things to come. Oh, little event has come up. Actually, they want steel struts. We're not interested in that because we're not making steel struts. But fundamentally, if I'm not crazy, if I'm not crazy, we might actually start to make a profit. We might actually be making a profit with this as we run it out a little bit. Guys, thanks everybody for watching this episode. I will see you guys in the next one. Of course, there is a playlist link down below so that you can make sure to catch the episodes. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. But thanks everybody for being here.